episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave. It was a pretty busy week in the hockey world. Not only did the Stanley Cup Finals begin, which we'll touch on in the second segment, but the player awards were voted on and announced this past Tuesday. So Taylor, why don't you give us a rundown of everything that happened in that award ceremony?
Yeah, I mean, well, the ceremony itself was kind of awkward. I feel like the NHL awards are always like a little cringy with the jokes and stuff like that. And Kenan Thompson was pretty good. I really liked that they had, some of the presenters they had come out. There's remember the Kraken fan who noticed the mole that was cancerous on the back of, the two of them, presented, and then Chris Snow, the assistant GM of the Flames who has ALS, he presented with his family. All of that was really cool. Some of the skits were just a little cringy, but I feel like that's to be expected. But I mean, it was a shorter ceremony. It wasn't how they normally do it. Maybe half the awards, the smaller ones, were announced in the weeks leading up to this. The voting was done before the playoffs started, so we're just kind of figuring out the results. But yeah, we can go through at least the key winners of the award.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where Penguins players finished in the voting. I know there's some controversy, at least with fans. I see Penguins fans getting mad. Nothing new there, but
never.
The biggest one, so the Hart. The MVP to his team. Austin Matthews won that. Kind of no surprise. McDavid and Shesterkin were the runners up. I voted for Shesterkin for this. And so looking at the full tally, 15 different players received votes. No Penguins players received votes for the Hart for MVP. Now, this is the one that I've seen Penguins fans mad about on Twitter because Crosby didn't get any votes for the Hart. What do you think? Do you think Crosby should have gotten?
I don't know. It was such a weird season because so many players were in and out of the lineup with injuries. It's even Crosby, it would have been really difficult to justify voting for any Penguins player as MVP, worthy of being most valuable to his team out of any other team in the league. They had a very bizarre season, and they ended up doing a lot better than everybody thought they were going to do. But at the same time, guys like Evan Rodriguez carried the team early in the season. And then as players kept getting healthy, it was kind of hit or miss. I don't necessarily think that was the wrong move. There was no one particular play. I mean, Sid was playing really well in the playoffs, but that's not taken into consideration into this voting. So I think that, it doesn't surprise me that there weren't any Penguins who received any votes because it was so fluid this season. None of them really were the consistent MVP to the team. I don't know. That's my thought.
That was my thought process too, for not giving, Crosby a vote. The way we vote, you pick five. You vote for five. He wasn't one of my five. And just kind of like you said, there were so many depth players who stepped up. I mean, Crosby, he missed around 15 games between COVID, and then, the injury to start the season, coming back from his surgery. And they did really well in those games without him. That's not to say that, they were better without him, but it's I think people see the Hart and they mistake it as a best player award, and that's not what it is. That's not. The Ted Lindsay is the best player. The players vote on that. This is most valuable to his team. And when they're doing that well without him, and he Gensel led the team in goals. He and Gensel both tied in points. It's just hard to justify that he was more valuable to the Penguins than some of these other guys were. I mean, Shesterkin. I voted for Shesterkin because if the Rangers don't have Shesterkin, they're probably not making playoffs.
Cooked.
And same, McDavid, finished second. Draisaitl doing well hurts McDavid for the Hart, because then you can say how valuable is McDavid? I mean, McDavid is also obviously very valuable to his team. But Draisaitl being as good as he is,
grand scope,
it kind of hurts McDavid and this. So that's why I know Penguins fans were I don't know, like, my replies, like, oh, Crosby was, like, disrespected. It's like, looking
No.
at, like, the field, it's hard to justify him being, like, the top 5 here, so, Ted Lindsay,
Yeah.
I mentioned, Matthews, won that, so he was MVP and the best player. Roman Josi and McDavid were the finalists. Since that's voted on by the NHLPA, not the writers, we don't have the full results, so we don't know. The closest one was probably the Norris for top defenseman. Makar and Josi were, everyone knew going into this it was going to be one of them. It was a very narrow margin. Cale Makar won it. Roman Josi actually had more first place votes. He had 98 first place votes. Makar had 92 first place votes, but just like the point total, the distribution, Makar barely edged out Josi. What do you think, Makar? Expected?
Yeah, I was expecting him to win, and I would have been shocked if he didn't. Not that Roman Josi isn't deserving of that kind of an award, but I think that this season, Cale Makar was just far and away the top tier defenseman in the league. And just even watching him in the finals, which again we'll get to, like he is so skilled and so intelligent. Like he is just an all-around incredible hockey player, and he deserved to win that award. So I think that was well earned on his part, and not surprising that it was close, but definitely he deserved to win that one.
Letang finished 7th. He had 18 fourth place votes and 19 fifth place votes. I didn't have Letang in my ballot, but yeah, I don't know. I guess cool to see him finish 7th. I don't know if I would have put him 7th. It was really kind of a big drop off after Makar and Josi. But Calder, Moritz Seider with Detroit, the runaway favorite. Everyone kind of knew it was going to be he had 170 first place votes out of 195. Just not close at all. Trevor Zegras was the runner-up. Michael Bunting was third. Michael Bunting, I think if you look at the seasons the rookies actually had, I think Michael Bunting had a better season than Zegras. Michael Bunting is also like 26 years old, and I know a lot of people didn't want to vote for him because of that. Because guys like Seider, Zegras, very young. Michael Bunting, he was in the minors for a couple of years, and and not surprisingly, no Penguins receive votes for the Calder because who
was there? Yeah,
Houston had a really good one game, Vezina is another one that the writers don't vote on. This is voted on by the GMs. No surprise, Shesterkin won that one. Out of 32 votes, he had 29 of the first place votes. They were just not even close. Other first place votes went to Anderson, Vasilevsky, and Sorokin, probably from their own GMs. You have to figure, Tristan Jarry finished tied for 7th. 9 different goalies received votes. He finished tied for 7th. He received 1 third place vote, which I don't know. I assume it's Hextall, right?
Probably. It would have to be. Who else would even think to vote for him?
It just is probably Ron Hextall being a good guy, given Jarry, So Jarry's 7th for the Vezina. The Selke is another one where Penguins players received votes. Obviously, the best defensive forward, Patrice Bergeron. They might as well just rename this award after Patrice Bergeron. It feels like every year it's not even close. And, he was on of the ballot. He was on every single ballot. Some of these awards there are guys where the winner might not be on every single person's ballot. Every person voted for Bergeron in at least some capacity. The Penguins. So looking at, there were 38 different forwards to receive votes here. Crosby and Rodriguez are both tied for 34th. Each received 1 fifth place vote. Now, like, who is voting for Evan Rodriguez? I saw that and like, okay, it has to be
Yeah.
someone from Pittsburgh being a little goofy. I looked up, the there was like the actual ballots are made public. The Evan Rodriguez vote came from a Vancouver writer. Um, the
Oh,
Crosby vote came from a Boston writer. So like I mean, again, I didn't have
interesting.
him on mine. And I think people, this was another one I know Penguins fans are mad about because they're like, oh, what, Crosby's like the 34th best defensive forward? No, we're not ranking the top 30 or so. We're only picking 5, and if he's outside of the 5, it's really just kind of a crapshoot
Yeah,
after that because you have different writers
right.
from different cities, putting like their guy like 4th or 5th or whatever.
Yeah, and it's all based on the
Yeah.
season, not players as a whole. It's how they performed throughout the past season. And I think that that's something else that people don't want to acknowledge whenever they go on Twitter and get really angry. It's like this isn't overall. This is just looking at cumulative their performance, and that's how they're voted on, and that's okay. And sometimes guys aren't always going to be in that top 5 spot.
Yeah, I pulled up my ballot. I mean, I had Bergeron first, obviously, Barkov second, Lindholm third. I feel like those 3 are pretty easy. Anthony Cirelli, a really good defensive forward
Mhm.
for Tampa, and we are seeing that in the finals too.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was done before the
Yeah.
finals. And then my 5th was Kopitar. I guess Crosby could have gone in the 5th spot, but again, it's like it doesn't really matter who you
Yeah.
put
It's not
5th.
at all.
Um,
Mhm.
a couple other ones. King Clancy, that's like the leadership off the ice and humanitarian award. PK Subban got that. This is one where teams nominate a player. It's voted on by the like NHL executives, so like we don't have the results. The Penguins
Mhm.
nominee was Brian Rust, which I couldn't tell you one specific thing he did in the community.
Yeah, that name was not the one I was expecting. Not that I was really expecting any, but that one just seems like, "Oh,
Y Yeah, I mean,
okay."
that guys all do different kinds of, like, donations, stuff like
Mhm.
that, but, the Penguins weren't gonna win this one. Um, Jack
Yeah.
Adams, Daryl Sutter won it. Mike Sullivan finished 8th, so this one is voted on by the broadcasters. So Mike Sullivan got 2 first place votes. I don't know, is that, like, just me or is it airy? Um, you know,
Oh my
and then
god.
he got, 3 second place votes. Like, is that just, like, the Penguins, broadcasters? I don't know.
Oh my god.
Um, I feel like
That's a shame.
yeah, he should have for sure finished higher than 8th because, again, you look at,
Mhm.
Crosby, Malkin, and those guys, and they're getting so much out of
Yeah.
these depth players. You have to give Sullivan some credit for
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah, and I feel like that has happened the past couple years where there have been like really critical injuries to star players early in the season, and the Penguins start really, really well, and then the Stars come back and everybody forgets what happened at the beginning of the season and what Mike Sullivan had to do to get the Penguins where they were to even be competing for a playoff spot once that time comes. I think that people just have such short-term memory that they're blinded by the big names in the locker room, and when those guys come back they're like, oh well, if this guy had Sidney Crosby on his team, he'd be going to the playoffs every year too. It's like, yeah, but look at the first half of the season, what he had to deal with, and then even in the second half of the season, like he always deserves better than he gets in that voting. And ultimately these awards are kind of like, whatever. Like I think these guys would much rather be where Colorado and Tampa are right now than talking about awards. But at the same time, as a spectator, it's frustrating to see a coach get the kinds of results out of depth guys like Sullivan consistently gets, and then have him be 8th in the voting. Like that just seems like not great. Not
Yeah.
great.
The Mark Mesti Leadership Award. So this award, it's it's Mestier's award. He is the only voter. He picks the guy. I mean, like, he takes suggestions from like different league personnel, but at the end, it's just like whatever Mark Mestier wants. They get a trophy. Kopitar got it. Kopitar got it this year. Hard to argue with. I mean, there are no runner-ups. It's just Mark Mestier picking his favorite guy. I don't know. I mean, not much to talk about with this one, but I don't know. Should there be other awards like that, or just like one former play, like the Henrik Lundqvist style award, something like that? Just
that would be awesome. I would love to see
the
that.
Paul Bissonnette like off ice performance trophy, where he just picks like the coolest guy off the ice.
Yep, and you really can't argue with it, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like, just another. I think that would be way more fun to watch than like the NHL trying to put on this weird sketch type show to announce these awards. Like, give us some more former players just shooting, shooting the breeze, basically. Like, we just, like, especially the entertaining ones, like Paul Bissonnette. Like, I would love to see who he would pick to be anything really at the end of the season. I would love that.
Not many others worth talking about. So the Masterton, everyone knew this is going to be, I mean, this is, perseverance, sportsmanship, dedication to hockey. I think everyone knew that this was going to come down to Carey Price and Kevin Hayes. Both of them dealing with, pretty serious injuries, but then Carey Price also dealing with, the substance abuse and working back from that. Kevin Hayes obviously lost his brother. But like Brian Boyle finished 6th. And like Brian Boyle did not play last year, and then he comes back from that and he finishes 6th in the dedication perseverance. Like, the runner up after Price and Hayes, it's Chara, and then after Chara, Getzlaf. Who they get we talked about this one. This is one that was announced earlier. They got those votes for being old. Chara and Getzlaf persevered through a couple of extra rotations around the sun. What an inspiration. Brian Boyle did that too. He just also didn't play last year. But Chara's a couple years older, so
yeah.
Oh, well. Just like
it's also
I know.
such a
I can't
joke sometimes. Like,
I can't. But he got. I mean, I voted for him 3rd. I don't think Brian Boyle should have been above like Price and Hayes, but how does he not get 3rd?
Yeah.
It's an outrage. Lady Byng, that went to Kyle Connor. This is. I don't think we should be voting on the Lady Byng. That's like the Gentlemanly Conduct Award, and how do I know? All we're doing is looking at like the penalty minutes and picking a guy who doesn't have a lot, but is also like a good player and preferably like an okay person too. I voted for Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor could be like the biggest jerk down there, like running his mouth, and I wouldn't know, like
Right.
But so I don't know. That's one that I think the players should vote on. The last
that makes sense.
One, it's like the all-star teams. Crosby, he finished 9th among centers. Again, that's not saying he's the 9th best center, but this is one where we only get to make 3 picks if he's not in your top 3.
Yeah.
4 people had him 3rd. I didn't have him 3rd.
Okay.
Left wing, so the top 3 were Gaudreau, Huberdeau, and Kaprizov. I mean, I saw Penguins fans mad that Gensel wasn't in there, but like I don't know who you bump off for Gensel. Goalie Tristan Jarry finished tied for 11th. He got 1 3rd place vote, tied with Tuukka Rask, who like didn't play this year. I don't know who's given Tristan Jarry 3rd place vote. And then defense, the rankings are pretty much the same as the Norris because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Chris Letang finished 7th. So that's that. No Penguins really. Not much to talk about, but I don't know who.
That's okay. It was a team effort this year. That's really all what it came down to, is nobody really stood out because everybody had to step up, and that's fine. Some years are just like that.
I don't know. I mean, I the only Penguin anywhere in my ballot was Boyle 3rd for the Masterton. No one individual stands out. I don't think that's disrespecting Sidney Crosby or Evan Rodriguez.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
it's no
Yeah,
disrespect.
it just there are a lot of good candidates around the league.
Yeah. Well, interesting stuff. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, but that's okay. Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Stanley Cup Finals. We're back. Last week when we recorded, it was on Wednesday, so it was before Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and today is also Wednesday when we're recording, and it will be before Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But as of right now, we have watched 3 games in this matchup of the Avs and the Lightning, and it has definitely not disappointed so far. In all 3 games, the home ice team has had the advantage handedly. Colorado took the first 2, and then Tampa took game 3 at home. And it has been a lot of fun to watch. Oh my God, it's been incredible. I like the fact that Tampa kind of ran away with game 3 the way that they did was a bit, it felt like kind of a turn of the tide in the series, because even in the first period of game 3, Colorado was sort of like dominating. And then once Tampa took control, they never really looked back. But it's, man, I'm a little bit speechless thinking back. I haven't seen all of each of the games, but I've seen most of each of the games. And I'm impressed by the talent and the speed of the Avs, and I'm very impressed by the resiliency of the Lightning. And it's just been crazy, and I'm not sure what to expect in game 4 tonight, but I'm sure it's going to be good. What have been your takeaways throughout this series so far?
Yeah, Tampa bouncing back in game 3 was one of the biggest things, because I think going into this series, I think both of us picked Colorado in 7.
Yeah.
And then, after watching the first 2 games, Colorado winning, I'm like, oh, they might sweep this, because,
Yeah.
Tampa, going back, their last 2 runs too, they haven't always had good game 1s, but they typically do bounce back in game 2 if they
Yeah.
obviously, they did go down 0-2 to the Rangers and then came back, but typically they don't have those 2 bad games in a row. And
Right.
I mean, the first game is close, but then, game 2, they lost 7-0.
Mhm.
The Avs put 7 past Vasilevsky, and
Yeah.
when I saw that, it's not that you expect Tampa to bounce back and get the win, but even if they don't, you don't expect them to lose that bad. And you look at like
Yeah.
the shots on goal, the shot attempts, and like the heat map, and Tampa wasn't in it at all. It wasn't, it was just so unmatched. And then again, 7 past Vasilevsky, insane. And I
That
think
was wild.
letting in 7 goals in a Stanley Cup Final game would rattle any other goalie other than Andrei Vasilevsky. And then over Vasilevsky to come back in game 3 and have such a great performance.
Right.
I think that resiliency stands out, and that's when we're seeing this the experience of this Tampa team, that they've been there.
Yeah.
As often as they have, that they are able to come back from a 7-0 loss and then have a really decisive win in game 3. So it'll be interesting to see, again, where it goes from here, because it's what they say, it's not really like a series until you lose one at home.
Yep.
I don't know. After the first 2 games, I was like, dang, Colorado's going to sweep this. And then now I'm like, okay, it's going to go like 6 or 7. But it's a fun series.
So fun. And looking back at the past 2 Stanley Cup Finals matchups, like Dallas, Montreal, like Tampa has not really, and I keep thinking this, but then I realize, like, okay, I can say Tampa hasn't played a team like this Avalanche team yet, but this Avalanche team is like something else. So not very many teams have played a team like this unless they've played the Avalanche like they are right now. And it really is going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. And I keep thinking back to the 2017 Stanley Cup Finals, where the Penguins took the first 2 at home and then looked really bad on the road in Nashville. And then as soon as they got back to Pittsburgh, they clinched the series with that game 5 win and then just took it over in game 6. So you just never know the way that this kind of thing is going to take a turn.
Mhm.
And it's really hard to say with the game tonight being in Tampa as well, if we're going to see if that was like a turning point in the series, or if it's just these are two really evenly matched teams who do well at home. And I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. It's just been it's been incredible hockey. Like, it's so much skill, so much scoring, so much good goaltending, like on both ends of the ice. Like, because for Darcy Kemper to get a shutout, that was a big deal too. Like, because that was sort of both of our hesitation in picking Colorado was like, okay, well, yeah, they're a way better team, but they don't have Andrei Vasilevsky in net. And it all kind of comes down to the type of goaltending that they're going to get from whoever it is that's starting in net. And up until game 3, it was looking pretty good. So it just feels like this is one of those series that's very up in the air right now and really could go either way.
Yeah, and we're seeing, like unlikely guys step up too, like Burakovsky. Not that he's a bad player, but I mean, the overtime game winner in game 1, and then he had 2 goals in game 2. I don't think anyone saw him stepping up like that. And these Colorado guys, there aren't many players on the team who have been to a Cup Final or have won, and Burakovsky is someone who has. He won with the Caps. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of unlikely heroes we see step up. I'd love to see Jack Johnson, have a pivotal moment, whether it be a goal or I don't know, something like that. It would just be cool. I think it's a good story for him getting here. I did also see he just graduated college after.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, from Michigan. He said, because obviously he hasn't been on teams that have had playoff runs or even before coming to the Penguins, like even making it to the playoffs very often. So he said he's been able to do a lot of spring courses online.
Nice. Well, good for him.
He said it's taken, like 12 years since he left college. He said normally after 12 years, people are doctors after 12 years of school, but it's taken a long time. So Jack Johnson, he has a degree, looking to get a cup. I'd like to see Colorado win just for the story. But then that also means Corey Perry would have lost 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals.
That sucks for him.
I know. I can't imagine. I mean,
yikes.
He's the first guy to go to 3 Cup Finals with 3 different teams since Marian Hossa, because with the Penguins and then the Red Wings. So
and then the Blackhawks, right?
Yeah, he lost twice, and then he won the 3rd time. So I don't know if we're going to see another Hossa situation where Perry, finally gets it done.
Yeah.
I think Perry has won before, but or if he's going to lose 3 in a row, that'd be awful.
That would be awful for him, but I really want this Avs team to win. I hope they win it all. It would be way more exciting, I think, for at least anybody who's outside of Tampa to watch them win it. That's
yeah, I don't know. You see this kind of like maps of like where each what each state is rooting for, and it's like no one's pulling for Tampa. I don't think
nobody. Yeah.
I mean, it would be cool to see a dynasty, because I mean, I don't know if you'd call them a dynasty now, but if they win 3 in a row, for sure dynasty. It would be cool to see that, but I think more people want to see Colorado win.
Yeah, nobody ever cheers for a dynasty if they're not part of the town. But if you do see it, you're like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, nobody's pulling for that before it happens. We go Colorado, go.
It would be 4 in a row for Pat Maroon too if they win.
Oh my God, he's the dynasty. He's really the legend.
He really is. I insane, but
insane. Reverse Corey Perry.
Yeah, we're gonna see cool things, cool stories like that either way.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, game 4 tonight. By the time you're listening to this, that will have already happened. So we'll see what goes down. But either way, it'll be a good game. Why don't we take one more break? We'll be right back. We are back. The Penguins made made another announcement this week. They named Teena Murray the Senior Vice President of Integrated Performance. That is pretty awesome. Taylor, I know you have some information on what that means for the team, what that role is, and then kind of like some background on Teena Murray as well, because that's just a really cool story there.
Yeah, so she's going to oversee the team's strength and conditioning staff, rehabilitation, sports science, and medical staff. So, this is a new role they created for her coming in, and I don't know, given the number of injuries the Penguins have had, especially a specific the core muscle, that kind of stuff. It'll be nice to have someone step in and kind of monitor all these kinds of things and how these different departments work together, and hopefully try to get the injuries down, because they've had they lead in man games lost every year. So and she has a very lengthy resume. She says she's coming to the Penguins from the Sacramento Kings of the NBA. She was their vice president of health and performance the last 4 years. Or same kind of thing. She deals with strength and conditioning. Analytics was a big part of it. Performance medicine, mental health, and performance psychology.
Mm-hmm.
She was big on there too. But I mean, she does have a hockey background. So I mean, before the NBA, she spent 14 years as the director of sport performance for the University of Louisville. And her hockey background, she was, a strength and conditioning coach or consultant for a number of teams, including University of Connecticut, Cornell, the Ducks, Hartford Wolfpack, AHL, the Florida Panthers. And she was the director of performance for the U.S. women's national team from 2006 to 2010. So, I mean, in that span, won 2 World Championship gold medals and an Olympic silver medal. So, and then, I mean, educational background. She has a degree in biology from a university in Canada, a degree in education from Queen's University in Canada, master's in exercise physiology and sport nutrition from UNC Greensboro. And she completed a leadership program at Northwestern. So, very lengthy resume. She does come from a hockey family. Her uncles are longtime NHL coach and GM Brian Murray and longtime NHL player and coach Terry Murray. So, she's worked in a bunch of different levels, collegiate, internationally, basketball, but then also a lengthy hockey background. It just seems like a great hire on the Penguins' part, especially given their struggles the past couple of years.
Yeah, that is super exciting. And the fact that they're kind of acknowledging that they've had a problem with that, as opposed to just kind of like crossing their fingers and carrying on and hoping that the injuries just stop. Like that's exciting and really hopeful for them as a team that maybe they can kind of get some of that stuff under control, because it did feel like, it has felt like for the better part of the last 3 to 4 seasons, it's every single game somebody's going out with something that you can't even pinpoint, like what happened there. Like Casey DeSmith in the playoffs, it was like literally nothing happened, and now he's having core surgery. So
a lot of these injuries are fluky things that so it's not anything that you can fault anyone for, like they're training, like Brian Dumoulin crashing into the net in the playoffs, hyperextending his knee. Right. That's not like we need to look at how this is happening. No, that's just an unfortunate accident. Yeah. But I mean, these core muscle things, especially, it's like Casey. He has the surgery he's having. He had this in the playoffs. He had that surgery last season on the opposite side of his groin, so it's like a repeated thing. Smith, he's making progress. We talked about on here. He's skating. He's on the ice. I've been going to Cranberry because I have nothing better to do, just to see if anyone's skating. And he's out there today. I saw him taking shots for the first time. But I mean, he's out there. He's doing a lot of work. And I know Casey said he's not expecting any like lasting problems, because again, he did have the groin surgery on the other side last year. I don't know if this is like an overcompensation thing where sometimes injuries can cause injuries on other sides, just because that side of the body. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm sure Teena Murray knows. But like so I don't know if that's related. But stuff like I mean, again, how many guys have had core muscle issues? Crosby did. Jason Zucker was obviously hurt for most of the year. So I don't know if Teena Murray, if all she does is keep Jason Zucker healthy, great hire. Because
great,
we're probably not going to be able to move Jason Zucker. I feel like that's going to be pretty hard. But he just has to stay healthy. If she can do that, incredible.
Yeah, great hire. Very exciting. There's also another pretty cool thing that's coming to Pittsburgh. You were talking about that 3-on-3 league. Give us a little bit more information on that, because that's so fun.
Yeah, so it's a new summer league. It's not a summer, like there's like the Beauty League and the Jersey Pro League, where it's like NHLers trying to keep in shape for the summer. This is different. This is its own kind of thing. Playing in the summer because there's a void for summer for hockey in the summer. The league is called 3 Ice. There are 6 teams, and so a lot of them, they are players who typically play in like the AHL or ECHL or overseas. Some players are former NHLers who came out of retirement to play in this league, but it's entirely 3-on-3, and the teams, so it's not like different cities have their own teams. The 6 teams travel. So they go to different cities. Last week was opening week. They had they play like a series, so it was in Vegas. So the teams play each other, and then there's a championship game. So there's a championship in each city, and a lot of Penguins connections. I mean, it was found, the commissioner of the league is Craig Patrick, for Penguins GM Craig Patrick. Eddie Johnson, and his son is running the league. Eddie Johnson is involved in the league, but I mean, the 6 teams, 5 of them, or 4 of them are former Penguins that are coaching. John LeClaire, Joe Mullen, Larry Murphy, and Brian Trottier are coaches. The other coaches are Carbonneau and Grant Fuhr. And then, I mean, the players that are, former Penguins, Jeff Tafe, but then also players who are coming out of retirement. Ryan Malone is playing in it. Ryan Malone, he left the NHL in 2015. He did play briefly leading up to the last Olympics. He played like 17 games for the Iowa Wild, trying to make the team. He didn't make it, but he came out of retirement, and then Bobby Farnham is playing in this league, which is great. I mean, so he's on Trottier's team. I can't remember who Ryan Mullen plays for. A couple of other guys who used to play for like Wilkes-Barre or Wheeling, stuff like that. But yeah, they come to Pittsburgh July 23rd. So if you Google 3 Ice, the league name, you can look up. You just buy tickets for like the full day, and then all the teams they play, and they have their little championship game for Pittsburgh. So that'll be really cool. Just, I mean, nothing but 3-on-3. I saw clips from the first day of games in Vegas, and it's like very fast paced, a lot of goals scored. Really
Amazing.
Cool. So really looking forward to that. I'm going to do a story talking to a couple of the Penguins connections about just their involvement in the league and stuff like that. But it's cool summer hockey.
Yeah, for sure. Fast-paced fun. It's going to be awesome, and it's coming to Pittsburgh. That's so exciting. I love that.
Yeah, it'll be really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, everybody, as always, for listening to Podcast on Fifth Ave. We drop new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you're subscribed, whether it's on our YouTube channel or wherever you listen to podcasts, so you never miss an episode. We will be back next week for another new episode.